Good evening, residents of Wilbrooke. This is your official weekly broadcast presented by the Homeowners Association. For those who missed the daily announcements this week, here is a complete recap of this week's community news and incident reports.
Attention residents, Jill Morse, age 24, is unaccounted for. She was last observed smiling at the Wilbrooke Market checkout line. If approached, please maintain distance and report immediately. Don't wave, don't smile, and whatever you do, don't let her follow you home.
Since its founding, Wilbrooke has always been a beacon of order, tradition, and American values. Our town was not assembled in haste. It was built carefully, brick by brick, lawn by lawn, family by family. The planners believed a community could only thrive if every detail was placed exactly where it belonged. Each home was selected with precision. No two are the same, and yet each one belongs to the same pattern, the same harmony. Residents take comfort in this order. No house has ever been moved, no address has ever been reassigned, except, of course, when it was necessary. Each family was chosen with care. Applications were reviewed, documents were signed, and names were approved before arrival. It is said that not everyone was permitted. It is said that not everyone was ready. Those who were granted entry understood immediately. Wilbrooke is not just a town. It is a privilege. And each smile was approved. From the very beginning, our citizens have carried themselves with dignity, warmth, and the kind of optimism that can only come from knowing one's place. Smiles are the foundation of our community. A smile opens doors. A smile eases doubt. A smile makes Wilbrooke strong. For more than 70 years, the pattern has held. Homes remain in their rows. Families remain at their tables. Smiles remain in place. Wilbrooke endures because Wilbrooke remembers how it began. And now a word from Wilbrooke's finest.
Marcy's Market keeps your staples in stock. Every checkout lane knows your name and your order. It's part of the service.
Sunrise Cafe is open from 6:17 to 8:43 a.m. exactly. We'll save you a seat. Joe's Diner knows your order before you sit down. Sometimes before you leave home. That's why the coffee's always waiting. Exactly how you like it.
Good afternoon, residents of Wilbrooke. This is Janine with the Homeowners Association, here to celebrate the arrival of Wilbrooke Elementary's newest student. Normally, such an announcement would be brief. We pride ourselves on every child's smooth integration into our school system. But in this case, neighbors have raised questions that deserve a proper response. The student in question arrived quietly, escorted by his smiling parents. They are new to our neighborhood, though you may have noticed how quickly their lawn reached full compliance. The boy, dressed neatly in black slacks and a pressed white shirt, did not need assistance finding his classroom. In fact, several teachers reported he appeared to know the layout of the building before stepping inside. During morning assembly, the student was asked to introduce himself. Instead of a name, he offered a smile, wide, steady, and just long enough that the other children fell silent. A few were seen clutching their stomachs, others their throats, as though laughter had been trapped inside them. We remind parents public speaking can be difficult for children, and nervous reactions from peers are to be expected. Throughout the day, reports of unusual activity circulated. In math class, every child's answer matched the new student's, regardless of what was written on their paper. In gym, he stood at the edge of the court, never running, never sweating, yet his team won every game. Even in art, students abandoned their crayons to stare at him instead, as though waiting for instruction. One teacher noted that when she asked him to read aloud, his voice seemed to overlap with her own. For a brief moment, the entire classroom spoke the same words in unison, though only one mouth moved. We would like to clarify that this is an excellent example of peer learning. By lunchtime, a group of children began chanting. Witnesses claim they were repeating a word they did not understand. The word has not been shared with the HOA. We discourage unnecessary gossip. But we are assured it was only playground enthusiasm. Some residents expressed concern about the flock of crows circling the schoolyard. We remind you that Wilbrooke's bird population is robust and loyal. It is a testament to our thriving ecosystem that wildlife gathers to observe new arrivals. In the afternoon, the principal reports that the boy entered his office without invitation. When asked why, the student smiled again and pointed to the chair. The principal immediately stood and left the room. Though unusual, we commend this level of respect for authority. It is rare for a child to inspire such deference. Parents collecting their children reported small disturbances, car alarms sounding without cause, crossing guards frozen in place, and one bus stalling as though unwilling to depart. We would like to remind everyone that mechanical issues are routine and should not be attributed to individuals. Neighbors closer to the school insist the boy's shadow appeared longer than his height, stretching toward the flagpole even when clouds hid the sun. The HOA considers this anecdotal and reminds residents that perspective can play tricks on the eye. In the spirit of community, Diane has already extended her congratulations to the family. She assures us the student is an asset to Wilbrooke. When asked about the child's future, she smiled politely and said, "He already knows it." We take this as a compliment to our educational standards. As with any new arrival, adjustments are natural. If your children complain of whispers at night, gently remind them that voices do not belong to them. They belong to Wilbrooke. Encourage them to listen politely, and if your child insists they dream of the new student, please do not discourage it. Dreams are merely rehearsals for the future. We encourage everyone to celebrate this addition to our school. Already, test scores have risen, attendance is perfect, and parents report their children now wake before sunrise, eager to comply. We understand some parents are uneasy. That is natural, but there is nothing to fear. A new student is a gift to our community. A new student strengthens us all. This concludes today's Community Incident Report. Thank you for your attention, your compliance, and your continued support of Wilbrooke Elementary. We know you will join us in welcoming the new student with warmth, respect, and unwavering smiles. Just a gentle reminder from your neighbors, the little ones should be home before 6. After that, well, you know how things get.
Neighbors here pride themselves on neat homes. A pantry is a reflection of character. At least, that's what the council says. It started small. Notes slipped under doors, gentle reminders to face each label forward, to stack soup with soup, beans with beans. Order keeps a community healthy. I thought it was silly at first. Who cares if a can is turned sideways? Who notices if a row is uneven? But then I began to hear stories. One family returned from dinner to find their pantry rearranged, every label perfectly aligned, every item placed as though for a photograph. Another neighbor said they heard someone in the kitchen at night. The door never opened, but the next morning the shelves gleamed like a showroom. I laughed it off until it happened to me. I had left my groceries in a rush, a few cans stacked crooked, a jar pushed too far back. When I came home, the light over the pantry was on. The shelves were immaculate, every label staring forward in unison. I felt my stomach drop. I checked the locks, the windows. Nothing was broken, nothing stolen, only corrected. That night I stayed awake at the kitchen table. At 2 a.m, I heard a sound, a slow clink of glass, the faint scrape of metal on wood. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. When I finally looked, the pantry door stood open. I couldn't see anyone inside, but the shelves gleamed, and one can roll gently forward into line. The next day, I found a letter in my mailbox. No return address, just a single sentence. A proper pantry is a proper mind. I haven't left the cans uneven since. I'm not sure what happens if you disobey. I only know the shelves must always be perfect, and someone, somewhere is watching.
Good evening, residents of Wilbrooke. Janine here with the Homeowners Association, bringing you today's advisory regarding a weather event at the Wilbrooke Market. While no injuries were recorded, we would like to address some concerns raised by neighbors who were present when conditions outside became less than optimal. Yesterday evening, a heavy mist settled over the neighborhood. Some described it as unusually thick, rolling in faster than expected, and carrying with it a sound like quiet breathing. While unsettling, it is important to remember that weather remains outside of our control, though Diane assures us she monitors such shifts closely. At the time of onset, roughly 24 residents were shopping at the market. Reports indicate the mist obscured the parking lot within minutes, and vehicles appeared to vanish even as their headlights remained faintly visible. Customers attempting to leave the store found the mist difficult to navigate. One resident claimed she walked only a few steps before the doors disappeared behind her. We consider this anecdotal. Inside, tensions grew as neighbors realized they could not leave. For several hours, residents remained in place, browsing the aisles, rereading labels, and politely waiting for the mist to lift. We commend everyone for their composure. Even during extraordinary conditions, Wilbrooke residents respect the queue. There were, however, some unusual observations. Several customers reported shapes moving within the mist, visible through the front windows. One described them as taller than the store itself, with arms that bent at incorrect angles. Another insisted he saw multiple eyes blinking in unison, though positioned far apart, like streetlights. While these accounts are vivid, we remind residents that low visibility often creates illusions. A child noted that when he pressed his ear to the glass, the mist whispered his name back to him. This too is imagination at work. Children are especially impressionable during weather events. Some residents grew concerned when the power briefly flickered. Fluorescent lights hummed louder, casting long shadows across the aisles. In one section, the cereal boxes appeared to rearrange themselves into a perfect wall, spelling out words some customers preferred not to repeat. We encourage those shoppers to treat this as an isolated marketing error. The market has already assured us their displays will return to compliance. When supplies began to dwindle, neighbors demonstrated cooperation by rationing. One family agreed to share their bread, though they insisted it was because the loaf had already split into 3 equal portions on its own. The HOA applauds such generosity. Near midnight, witnesses claim a resident attempted to step into the mist, stating he could hear someone calling for help outside. Others report he was gone the moment he left the doorway. No sound, no shape, only absence. We ask residents not to speculate. Absences happen. At one point, the mist grew so dense it pressed against the windows, as though breathing onto the glass from the outside. Condensation formed handprints where no hands existed. A few residents screamed, but order was quickly restored when Diane's voice came through the store's intercom system, reminding everyone to remain patient. She thanked them for their compliance and promised the mist would clear on schedule, and it did. By morning, visibility returned, cars reappeared, and all remaining residents left the store together. Some, however, reported that the parking lot seemed altered. White lines painted on the asphalt had shifted slightly, bending toward the market's entrance, as though welcoming them back inside. We trust this is merely a trick of perspective. In conclusion, last night's weather event at the Wilbrooke market was inconvenient, but ultimately harmless. Our residents showed remarkable patience even as conditions tested their resolve. We remind everyone that mist, like all things in Wilbrooke, serves a purpose, even if we do not yet understand it. Should the mist return, please remember, remain indoors. Do not answer voices from outside. If the aisles begin to rearrange themselves, smile politely and move to the next section. We thank our residents for their composure, and we thank Diane for her watchful presence. This concludes today's Community Incident Report. Continue your shopping as usual, and remember, in Wilbrooke, even the weather is neighborly. Good evening, residents of Wilbrooke. This is Janine with the Homeowners Association, bringing you an important reminder about proper butchery standards and community-approved food preparation. Recently, concerns were raised regarding a family on the outskirts of Wilbrooke who have adopted what they describe as alternative cuisine practices. While innovation is often welcome, certain methods fall outside HOA guidelines and must therefore be addressed. Several neighbors reported unusual noises coming from the property at night, a heavy machinery revving indoors, rhythmic pounding echoing through the walls, and the sound of doors slamming without human touch. When investigated, it was discovered that the family had converted portions of their home into a makeshift processing facility. This is not an approved use of household space. Visitors to the residence noted that chairs slid across the kitchen floor by themselves, forming neat rows along the walls. Hooks swung gently in midair as though awaiting assignments. Knives hovered momentarily before returning to their drawers. While impressive, such animated preparations are neither sanctioned nor neighborly. One family member was observed wearing an elaborate mask crafted from unfamiliar materials. While creativity is always encouraged, masks should not obscure identity during business transactions. The HOA reminds residents that smiles must remain visible at all times. Travelers passing through Wilbrooke reported being invited inside for supper. While hospitality is commendable, the dishes provided were described as unconventional and difficult to identify. Guests who failed to finish their plates noted furniture sliding closer around them, politely insisting on compliance. This is not in keeping with Wilbrooke's approved dining etiquette. Concerns escalated when several residents failed to return after visiting the property. Vehicles were found abandoned along the roadside, doors neatly closed, belongings folded in the back seats. Inside the family's home, dinner tables were discovered set for far more guests than could be accounted for. We remind everyone, place settings should match household size plus approved visitors, no more, no less. Some witnesses described objects flying freely through the air during their visits, cleavers spinning slowly before embedding themselves upright into cutting boards, plates circling mid-air before landing in perfect stacks, chairs sliding to block exits. While these demonstrations may be seen as impressive, they are unnecessary and, frankly, unsafe. The committee has reviewed these practices and politely discourages them. Alternative cuisine must be conducted within established standards. Livestock may be processed in designated facilities only, and recipes must not include unlisted ingredients. Community trust is built through transparency, not through mystery meat. We wish to reassure residents that Diane has addressed this concern personally. Her words, broadcast clearly through radios during yesterday's supper hour, were simple. Meals should nourish, not unsettle. Approved kitchens only. We encourage neighbors to report any households experimenting with unauthorized butchery. Listen for machinery running after curfew, observe for guests who do not return, and be mindful of furniture moving into formation around dining tables. These are signs of misaligned hospitality. As always, the strength of Wilbrooke lies in compliance. When meals are shared properly, harmony thrives. When innovation strays too far, Diane intervenes. To summarize, improper butchery practices are not sanctioned. Animated utensils and furniture should not be encouraged. Alternative cuisine must comply with HOA standards. Diane reminds us, meals should nourish, not unsettle. This concludes our advisory on concerns about improper butchery. Thank you for your continued trust, residents. Harmony begins at the table, and so does compliance. This concludes the official Wilbrooke Weekly broadcast. Please return to your routines and remember, Diane is always with you.